the president of the Tata Sons. Banmali, your question.
Thank you, CV. Honorable Minister, respected Director General, first of all, thank you so much for those opening remarks. Director General, I think they were very incisive. My question is for both of you, and it is about services. When we talk about trade, I think the focus is more on goods rather than on services, even though Director General did speak about services. But your perspective for both of you on the revival of services, given the disruption of movement of people, what are your thoughts on that? And also, even otherwise, how more effective could we make the movement of people in order to further trade between countries?
You go first, please. The Honorable Minister go first this time.
Well, it's really your session. I'm listening very intently to everything you are saying. But Dr. Shri Agarwalaji, I agree with you. Services is the services trade. We form the way our business looks at WTO, and I hope it gave her a sense of India in a better perspective, meeting with people in person. So my own sense is services, as they evolve, world rules will also evolve around that. IT sector, privacy rules, the e-commerce, digital trade, all of these are progressing very fast, and at the appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Excellency.
Well, thank you. The Honorable Minister answered so eloquently in tourism alone about what India has. Like I said in my speech, is that a large proportion of its exports are digitally deliverable services. So even though, so India has in fact benefited from the digital world. 75% of your digital exports, of your export services exports are digital. That is growing so now. Like I really believe what he said, $1 trillion and more. So it is the open for India to, and that's why I loved my visit, because I can see you now. Seeing many of you in person was just invaluable. And compared to talking to you like this, but it will be part of our life in the future. So I think India should exploit that door as much as possible. Parts of the world, and goods and so on. But we've always found that the free flow of labor always meets with constraints everywhere. And it's going to take a lot of doing, because in almost every country, there are barriers to this move. And it will take a lot of doing. If I take I have a family of doctors. My husband is a neurosurgeon. And I know when he tried to move from Nigeria to England, the number of exams he had to pass, it was like a club. Then he moved from England to the US, and it was an even worse club. And he had to start his training in trauma and neurosurgery all over again, which he did. And I was looking at myself and saying, my God, they've made clubs in almost every area, so it's so difficult to move. What I think could happen, and I always think about is, when like-minded countries get together, what I call a coalition of the willing, they can decide to sort of relax rules about this kind of movement between their countries. After all, Cuban doctors have moved into many countries in Africa, like Mozambique and Angola, and so on, because they all relax the rules. So we must think of what kinds of services are we trying to move people back and forth. Of course, computer services, India is legendary for that. And there's pressure on the US now to look at the rules for this movement. But let's forge coalitions of the willing, and then let's go from there to put some pressure, to get this moving in terms of relaxation of rules. But I tell you, it's going to take a lot of work, because there are biases, inherent biases deep down, and there are unions.
Thank you. Thank you. We are just about 3 minutes from the scheduled time to end. And I would not be, of course, pushing both our honorable dignitaries beyond very much. But therefore, may I take advantage of getting two questions at one go and see how it goes, if with your permissions, please. Yeah, thank you. So I have Mr. Vikram Kirloskar, who is the vice chairman of the Toyota Kirloskar Motors, and Mr. Deep Kapuria, again, a high-tech company. So may I ask both of you to go one after the other? Vikram first, please.
Yes, this question is for both of you, Dr. Ngozi and Mr. Piyush Goyal.
Vikram,
Yes, sir.
Focus your question to Dr. Ngozi. I am always available. You can ask me what you want anytime.
Okay, sure, sir.
You've got her on the line.
Sure, sir. India has been at the forefront of realizing the objective of vaccine equity. It has not only significantly scaled up the vaccine manufacturing, but also enhanced the supply to the world. As trade is being viewed as a major part of the COVID-19 response, what more do you think countries, businesses, and international organizations can do, particularly in the light of the Omicron variant, which is gradually spreading? Is it possible to expedite the discussion and ensure some meaningful outcomes even before the ministerial conferences? Thank you.
Madam, I'll take one more so that you can get both together. Deep.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you in Delhi, Madam Director General. And this question is directed to you, and I hope that you'll get some added, some kind of a comment from our minister as well. The 12th ministerial conference was unfortunately postponed due to totally unavoidable and compulsive reasons that we all know about. But I'm sure it was a disappointment for all of us, because this is an excellent opportunity for the trade ministers not only to get together, but also to pass on a very strong political message to a geopolitically challenged world, and underscoring that message, saying that international trade is really important and a really important solution to fix this current disruption and distress, specifically for the livelihoods caused by the pandemic. But as we are hearing, this MC12 is likely to be held sometimes, and what can we do to...
And I'm hoping very much we will get to a sensible answer. But we have the issue of, what hinders supply chains. And those who make your supply chains not work, whether it's in the pharmaceutical industry or some other industry. So at WTO, we monitor these restrictions and prohibitions. We make them transparent. We try to show to members so they can lower them and your supply chains can move and you can work. So in vaccines, this is something we're actually doing now. Working with India is very well represented. CII is there. Sai Prasad and Madam, she's disappeared from the screen, the managing director of Bharat Biotech. They are very much part of us. And then we try to work with them to make sure that they're supplying. So on the response to the pandemic, we're working. And on the fisheries, they've been working. And we hope, I've sort of given an informal deadline that by the end of February next year, we should wrap up some of these negotiations so that ministers can meet and bless them or tackle any of the remaining last remaining issues. So that's where we are. I'm very much of the mind of don't waste this time in between, or use it to unlock those areas where we have difficulties. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Excellency. Any closing comments from you, Honorable Minister?
Well, I can only express my deep gratitude to Madam Ngozi for joining us at this very important partnership summit. Madam, they did not tell everybody about your background, but she's one of the most distinguished persons to have headed the WTO, former finance minister of Nigeria, the first woman finance minister of Nigeria, the first lady to head the WTO, very, very distinguished academic career, a brilliant record at the World Bank. I can just keep going on and on. But we are really privileged to have worked together with you and continue to work with you for many, many, many more years. We are looking up to your leadership at the WTO. and are confident that given the passion with which you work and the sensitivity which you have demonstrated in the short period that you've been at the helm of affairs, particularly the sensitivity towards the poor, towards the marginalized sections of society, towards the less developed nations or the developing countries, and your commitment, your action oriented approach to get results out of the WTO will certainly mean a new WTO, a reformed WTO, a much more proactive WTO coming up with solutions in the future. On behalf of India and all of us on this partnership summit, a deep note of gratitude to you. Thank you very much for joining us today. And thank you for your leadership to make world trade even more robust, strong, resilient, transparent, and get the bounce back into and the enthusiasm back into international trade under your leadership. Thank you for your support. I pray for your good health and wish you all the best. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste. Thank you so much. It's such a delight.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Madam DG. Thank you.